This is another episode of Flavor in Your Ear Podcast. A podcast about damn near any and every topic with no filter and zero regard for the easily offended. Please welcome the man behind the madness. Your host and audio flavor maestro, Marques Edwards.
What is going on, everyone? We are back with another episode of Flavor in Your Ear Podcast. And as we explore Women's History Month, I've been digging between all of these very, very complex, strong, unique women that have such awesome stories and things that I can relate to, that I hope you all can relate to as well. And as you all know, we're always unscripted, having good conversations. So, enjoy the conversation for what it is. Today we have Dr. Kaci Meyers here with us today. Whoop, whoop.
Hey.
So we here today, mild afternoon here in Italy. Where are you, Dr. Kaci?
I am in Atlanta, Georgia, United States of good old America.
Hey, she's in the A, I'm in Italy, but we make these things happen. That's the beautiful thing about it. And as I was talking to her about in our green room, because I do doing interrogation work and who I bring on the show. So, I mean, she has so many different things to talk about. Of course, we're not going to capture them all, but we're going to try our best to, just have a good conversation and lay it all out there. She's also a military veteran. She has her own story that I'll allow her to speak about before I start asking her questions and things like that. But I think you all will enjoy this episode. So without further ado, I'll allow Dr. Kaci to introduce herself before we get started.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Kaci. I am, again, a military veteran. I am a ordained minister, a life coach, transformation coach, and I have a whole lot of coaching titles that include both sex coaching and sex education, as well as positive psychology coaching. So I tried to get certificates that surrounded my natural gift and calling, so that I'm actually doing what I'm purposed to do. So for me, my work is so gratifying versus just something that I'm doing. I have been doing podcasting and speaking for about 20 years. Close. Well, no, not 20 years. I got my first book. It's been about 16 years. I did my first book, finished it in 2006. And, but I started that book in 2004. I've always been a person to try and encourage people. I've always been a person that speak up for others. When I was in school, I used to fight bullies that would bully my friend. Like, if you bullied my friend, then you had to deal with me. So I've just always been that type of person. And it transcended into me being a life coach. Now, I think I've always given advice since I was younger. Just family members. And sometimes I remember always asking myself, or not just myself, but asking God even, why do my older cousins and stuff call me? I'm supposed to be the little cousin calling them. And, but now I appreciate who God made me.
That's awesome. You got to be comfortable in your own skin. That's a big thing. One thing that gravitated me to you, when I was reading about you, is like I said, you want to help people. You want to help out the community and, help people learn from your mistakes or tribulations or trials or experiences, whatever it may be. That's what it's all about, right? So we're just letting people know on the average level. I would say average is because we're not like mega superstars and nothing like that, which I feel like they have too much influence on normal day people. That's why I did this podcast, because I said, man, we don't all have Jay-Z problems and, Kanye problems and all those people problems. We got regular people problems,
But wait a minute. The only difference is that their problems, they have regular people problems. It's just that some of their problems are only problems because they have money. So their regular people problems are just simply amplified. And I'm going to be honest with you. Some of the way that I started what I do now, like on Instagram, I used to have 70,000 posts on Instagram, 70,000. I was posting 100 posts a day. And a lot of it started because I was listening to songs like when I listened to Rihanna's Man Down, it started to sound like she was describing her situation with Chris Brown. And then I listened to a Chris Brown song and I was like, it kind of sounded like he describing a situation. And I started putting the story, like putting it together. Then I was listening to Jay-Z and I was thinking about songs that he did when him and Beyonce was low-key dating. And then I look at songs that she did, like whether it was Say My Name or it was just other little songs that it was like, well, wait, it's starting to make sense. I'm cross-referencing verses and stuff. So, but then I also was like, you know, when people like Chris Brown go through something where him and his girlfriend get into probably a mutual fight, but she gets hurt behind it. Now, who does he go to? Who can help him? Who can give him advice as like a sister, friend, or anything? Because normally, when you have money, you're going to get exploited for whatever information somebody can get from you. So. True. I used to go to Mace's church. I was an usher for a while and some other things. So I know from my interactions with him, well, Diddy is really a piece of work because Mace is a piece of work. And when I saw Making the Band, I was like, damn, he act like Mace a little bit. Or Mace act like him. But when I was there, one of the things that they used to teach us was as far as like dealing with celebrities and, you know, making people feel comfortable and not being like, oh my God, it's a celebrity. So that just kind of made it to where I looked at him even and be like, okay, so even though he's a pastor, he's a regular man. He got other, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, so it taught me to have a certain type of empathy for people. And then I'm like, listen, I do a lot of stuff, but I don't want to be famous because every time you get famous, your life is up under a microscope. It's like you can't be regular, normal, or anything. You can't go nowhere. One. And and then if something happened in your life, like I don't know how many people are calling in and giving away this information that this is going on, or how many people they are just watching the news beat and, you know, waiting for something to circulate so they could be like, oh, first one to have it, you know, kind of like when Kobe died. And they was the one everybody wanted to be the first. Like, damn, let the person's family
let his wife grieve or something, right? Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective on that, and you have personal experience with it as well. So I know from a lot of people they don't get to interact, and maybe they don't care as much to care about. You know, like they just see Instagram and you know Snapchat, whatever they use, Twitter. They see the finished product of people. They see the happiness, and you know they forget about all the stuff in between, the regular stuff that they may go through. So we, you know, kind of disconnected on that point because people always want the success. You know, people always see the success, and that's all they really want. That they see that people publicize and you know, advertise or whatever. So I get that part. More so about you. So you did say you joined the military, 17. Yeah. God bless you for that. I joined. I ain't gonna talk too much about the military. We're gonna sprinkle on this. There ain't gonna be talking too much about the military. I joined a little bit later. 17 is fairly young, and I still have my ups and downs in the military as well. You know, it's being active duty right now or whatnot. So I want to just ask you. You know, I heard about. Well, I didn't hear about. I read about. You know, about the situation with your mom. I don't know if you'd like to talk about it or not.
Listen, I am an open book. Ask me anything. Like when I say anything, I mean anything. I have like no limits. Whether it's sexuality, whether it is military, whether it is, like I told you, I am ordained minister, but I'm also a sex coach. So I have a lot of balance. I realize that life is a full perspective thing. It's not just one dimensional. So I don't limit myself. My goal, and this is going to sound more biblical than anything else, is to be all things to all people. I want to relate to whoever it is. Okay. So sometimes I even speak about situations from a perspective like as if I was going through it, even if it's something that I wouldn't necessarily do, just so that I can allow people to understand from a different perspective. Because, you know, as a person going through something, you have a different perspective than a person that's judging you going through something. So if you put yourself in that person's shoes, a lot of people say, walk in my shoes. Well, if I place myself in your shoes, in my mindset, then it's like, damn, I can kind of see where you're coming from.
I wish everybody thought like that. Before you get started, especially in the military, because it's a hierarchy, and they say, "Oh, reach out for help and do these things like that." But a lot of people see things as just business, right? They don't see it like this person has family issues, this person has personal issues, but you can't do this job. So they overlook those things, and they don't put themselves in your position. Like, we're more than just a position or a title, or what we're doing for the day, or whatever mission or whatever it is. So you joined it early. I'm quite sure you had an experience. So if you can just tell us a little bit about, you joined in at an earlier age, and your relationship with your mom, about the situation with your mom that you want to maybe talk about a little bit.
Okay, so first, I believe that the military makes a machine out of people. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just teaches us how to do things dress, basically. And getting out of the military, it was necessary for me to take over my machine and use it for the purpose that I saw fit. Now, when it comes to, so how I got going into the military, I'll tell you the story. I like telling these stories because I think it's very helpful. So I was young. I had a lot going on. My mother had kind of left me in different situations. Like, she left me in Kentucky a couple of times. One point, I literally was told to find my way back to Dayton, Ohio from Lexington, Kentucky. And it was like a 4-hour drive. And I was definitely not driving. I think I was about 15 or so. And I literally had to hitchhike. I was going into high school. She had took all my clothes back. I mean, like, it was a whole like big old thing. And I was just like, I was abandoned. So I found my way back. One of my brother's drug dealer friends gave me a ride. And he bought me some clothes, and then he dropped me off somewhere where I felt comfortable for him to leave me at, so that he wouldn't be intercepted, or, be in the
right.
So from there, it just kind of kept going from bad to worse. So then I ended up taking my mom's car once. Well, I was actually like going to get my pager from the boy that I was dating at the time. And once you do something bad, then you be scared to go home. So I was like scared to go home.
Yeah.
So then I stayed there so long to where I was like, I just didn't go home. So I was like literally sleeping, like sneaking in my boyfriend's bedroom window, sleeping in his room. I know his mom had to know I was there. We was having sex and everything. But it was like I was there for like 2-3 days, and she was just like, she didn't come in his room like that. I was hiding on the side. So eventually I end up going back home, and my mom called one of my cousins, had my cousins to come and fight me, and I beat her up. So then I ended up, it was a string of drama.
Spiral, like a spiral of stuff going on.
It was just a lot going on. And then at the time, like, I used to fight. I fought a lot in elementary school. When I got to middle school, I was like, you know what? I don't want to fight no more. I'm a very smart girl. I need to go, and I want to do my work. And then I ended up getting in 2 fights in middle school that was kind of not my fault. Well, somebody wanted to fight me. And then the person that wanted to fight me, I thought one of their people sent them to fight me. So I was like, this fight me. And they're like, no, but I wish they would have beat you up. That was like, I had to. And then they wanted to fight me for a long time after that. I mean, it was a whole big drama. I have a picture that I can post on Instagram right now that shows me at a bus stop with a whole bunch of girls around me, because we had went that day to go fight those girls. This was the day we went to go fight these girls. So after all of that, I used to like get on my mom, because she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy you a car. But I had just got suspended. I was like, why are you buying me a car? And as the person receiving the car, the average person would be like, I'm not gonna tell her don't buy me a car. But I was like, why are you buying me a car? I was just in trouble. Like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make sense. So and from there, it just kept on and kept on. So I ended up getting into an altercation or argument with my cousin, my older cousin that we were living with. She's passed away just recently, rest her soul. But I ended up getting into an argument with her, and we were like arguing. She was like, if you there when I get back, I'm gonna fight you. So I left. I went next door, and then I ended up going to my grandmother's house. So when I left and lived with my grandmother's house. My mother stayed there. A couple months later, my little cousin, a couple months younger than me, got into it with my mom. So then she ended up coming. Now
to your grandma's house.
Yeah, like I don't know why she let me go to my grandma's house and then stayed, but so she ended up coming. But when she got there, now she's like, she worked third shift, so she wasn't really around like that. Like growing up, it always felt like I had my own place because she would be at work. She would come home late, leave, or like it was just my place. Like my friends would come over. No, like come over my house, is kicking it. So when she got there this one day, we had some midterms and I thought I did well. Like I knew I was skipping school, but like I'm smart. Like
you can maintain it, right? You get away with it.
Right. So and I guess I didn't do well. I don't think I ever really seen the test. I just remember her going off on me one day. I was working at a jewelry store, I was hanging out with guys. I was living with my grandma. So, grandmas are never like too overbearing. You kind of do what you want to do.
Because they're trying to make up for, because grandmas, most of the time, with their kids, they be strict, and then they turn to grandma mode. They be so nice.
Well, no, my grandmother was hell. She would cuss me out all day. She would just say little mean stuff. But my grandmother was, okay, so recently I found out that my grandmother was like heavy activism in my city where I come from. My uncle got killed by the police when a couple years before I was born. So I think that the way that she was, like, she would be mean. Like, I can't describe it. She would just say just mean, hateful stuff. Just like, she would just like, I remember one time, I think I had a pimple by my lip and she was like, you probably got herpes. I was like, you probably got herpes. Like
damn.
In front of people though. And I was you probably got herpes. Like, ain't nobody got herpes. Like she would just say random mean stuff. So I used to to the point to where I'm gonna tell you this part of the story too, because so me and my mom got into it. I don't have herpes because that was just a random thing that my grandmother said. That was not the case. Okay, but so she would just be mean. So eventually, literally, she said that she was gonna kill me. I had wanted to surprise my mother one time. So I was like, I told my mother I wasn't coming home for the holidays, but I had rolled with a friend to Ohio from Atlanta. And when I got there, my grandmother was like, you said you wasn't coming. And she went off and like literally we was arguing. She told my brother and his girlfriend that if she would have had her gun, she would have shot me. I believe it's probably but it wasn't that serious. Like, you're mad because I'm surprising my mama. I mean, you her mama, but let me do what I'm doing with my mama. So, but okay, so back to me going to the military. So, on this day that my mother was drunk, I could smell the liquor on her. And years later, I found out that sometimes she had recreational fun with other drugs. So this day she woke up like, I thought you said you packed your test. I was like, I thought I did. Like, what you want me to do? I am getting my clothes ready. I'm about to go to work. My friend is downstairs in the car. I'm just trying to get in here, get my clothes so I can go to work at the jewelry store. She just started going off. And you ain't shit. And da 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 da. And eventually, like, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, if I didn't pass the test, there's nothing that I could do. Yelling at me now is not going to help. But you haven't been here checking on me anyways. It ain't like you're keeping up with me or making sure I'm doing the schoolwork or none of that. So we get to going downstairs. Like, we was living in this small room. We was sharing a room, kind of. This little small room in my grandmother's house. And so we get downstairs. I go downstairs. I'm leaving. We get downstairs. She's at the door. And I'm like, she's talking trash. So I try to get in the car to drive off. My friend let her open the door, take the keys out. I'm like, girl, you see, it's a whole thing right here. Why would you open the door so we could have drove? Okay, but she gonna recover in a minute. Hold on, let me tell you about my friend. So she take the keys, go back in the house. So I'm like, like, why would you do that? Like, I got my friend with me. You embarrassing me. I'm trying to go back to school. Now you won't let me go back to school, but you yelling at me about not doing good in school. Like, it don't make a sense.
Right.
So she was like, and bitch, you ain't shit. And I was like, and I turned around in front of my grandmother's house, like, if I'm not shit and you my mama, then that means that you not shit because I'm a reflection of you. And she bolted out that door on me. And she literally was like swinging on me. And I was like, stop. And I was putting my hands up. And eventually I like she ended up being in kind of like the headlock, but it wasn't like me trying to fight her, but it was me trying to like, and I think because I was a fighter, she probably was even more aggressive, thinking that, she didn't see me beat my cousin up. I didn't got expelled from school for fighting 2 fights. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. She probably like, oh hell, I'm about to kill this girl. And she a beast. I know she a beast. But so she literally was attacking me. So I got her in the head, like, but I'm like, man, chill out. Like, I am not trying to fight you. You my mama. And so she just kept on. I think her being in the headlock or being like where she wasn't in the dominant position probably riled her up even more. And then she had been drinking. So eventually we ended up being on the ground. Like, so my grandmother had her house redone and they poured the sidewalk, but it was like a little piece of cement where they had kind of cleaned it off right there in front of the thing. So we were right there on the cement. And my head was where the cement was, but the rest of us were on the thing. So she was on top of me. And I used to fight with my friend's brother, like wrestle. So I used to do the little move where I would like thrust him off from my hips. And I was doing the move, but I could not get her off of me. So I was like doing everything that I knew to do. I was biting her like her forehead, like area, because like she was beating so during the time where I'm trying to get her off of me, she was beating my head on the ground, like on the concrete. So my friend came and she
how old were you?
16. I might have just turned 17. Like I was like right at that age where I had either just turned 17, but I was probably like I had just turned 17. Because it was around that Christmas holiday season time. So she's beating my head. So my friend put her foot up under my head and, trying to help at least what she could. And my mother, like, she swung at her and was like, bitch, I get you too. I mean, it was like crazy, the craziest thing I've ever experienced, I believe. And then she started strangling me. And my friend said my eyes was bloodshot and was rolling in the back of my head. And then all I remember is I was pulling her hair. I was trying to bite her. I was doing everything that I could to try to get her off of me. And this man in his big white Cadillac pulled up and he was like, get off of her. You're not going to fight her like she's some grown woman. And literally this man saved my life. He was in a white Cadillac. He had a white suit on. I promise you not. And we got into his car and he drove us around the corner. It was when payphones was still a thing. My grandmother lived down the street from the store. So he took us to the payphone. I called the police, but I didn't know that my grandmother's neighbor had called the police. So they was there. On top of that, my grandmother had issues with the police. So she's been in the city and all of this. So my mother didn't end up going to jail. And they sent me to like the runaway shelter, in which I ended up calling my cousin and went back to the cousin and had kicked me out because she wanted to fight me if I was still there. So I went back to her house. And then I ended up getting kicked out of her. I went to her house when I was there. Her son's baby mama's twin sister was like, man, I want to go to the army. Do you want to go with me? Like we go on a buddy pass. And I was like, man, I mean, I don't know. It sounds good. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what you talk about. So, she was going through all the motions at the time, trying to get clean, from weed and all that. So I was like, it was something, it was put on my mind. I think I was just around to turn 17. So I was like, I don't know. I might, I was lost. I didn't really have I wasn't doing anything productive with myself at the time.
Like set direction of where you want to go.
I had my mother. So after me and my mother got into it, she ended up withdrawing me from school. She was going to register me for school where my cousin lived at. And then one way or another, I guess my cousin didn't want to take the responsibility because her 2 sons had been in jail and, had troubles already, I guess. And then she had lost a daughter. So I guess she just didn't want that responsibility. Her children's not there. And then she had a new boyfriend that she eventually ended up marrying. So she was like, I don't want to commit to that like that. So I was literally like, my mama wouldn't put me back in school. And then she was like, she wouldn't like, she just left me out. She didn't gave me no hope for real. Like, so, I started hanging out with my friends, and I was just like, kicking it, trying to figure out what I was doing. I not in school, not because I don't necessarily want to be in school, even though when I was in school I was skipping. But I was just like out there, like drifting, and I would stay over my friend's house sometimes or be out late. And my cousin ended up getting mad, and she was like, "Okay, you can't stay here no more. Like, wherever you at, you got to go back." You know what I'm saying? Because I can't deal with you. And I was just like, all right. So I went to this friend's house that I knew from high school. She had a cousin that worked at this nursing home that I worked at. I've been working since I was 14. My uncle used to take me and give me little summer jobs. And, I would have summer jobs here, do this, do that. They would keep me kind of busy. So I got kicked out of there. I went to go live with my friend. And I really wasn't trying to go live there, but I was like homeless. I didn't have nowhere to go. So I stayed there for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then the guy that I knew from the job, was her cousin. So I would see him periodically. And then one day he was like, "Yo, ride with me real quick. I'm about to go get something to eat." And I was like, "I really ain't hungry." He's like, "Come on, I'm gonna buy you something to eat." Da, 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 da. So I was like, okay. So he got in the car and he was like, "You can't go back there. Like, they're really trying to they're going to put you," like he was going to sell me or do, like, it was something that he was going to try to make me prostitute or something. Cause I was going to not stay there for free. I had to pay my way. Like, I wasn't really there for a long time, but he was like, I guess they was outside and he must've been plotting to this guy that knows me and my family. And he's like, "You can't go back. Then you got somewhere else you can go, because this is what they're saying they're going to do." Like, I don't know if he was going to try to have sex with me. His daughter was my age, but she was dating a 35-year-old. So it was like, so I was just like, and it was so crazy because I remember we went and got something to eat, and then we went downtown dating, and we were sitting there. And it was like I was in a trance while he was talking to me and telling me, and it was like he was speaking to my soul. And from there, I went to my mother's friend's house, who eventually signed the papers for me to get my GED so that I could, like, it was crazy. It was like definitely God, because my mother didn't even sign the paper for me to get my GED. The person that I was staying with at the time signed the papers. And then from there, I ended up getting into it at her house, did something stupid, and was kicked out again. And I was staying with my friend's sister, who was also my friend, but my friend was the sister. And they used to come over to my house when I used to have my own apartment. So I was like, I've been telling her what was going on. And she was like, "Well, you can always come here." And I went there. And then all I remember with being there, I was selling a little weed here. I was, just trying to survive. I was cleaning. Like, yeah, so I was cleaning up. I was just doing everything. I had got a job at another girl I went to school with. Her mom had a cleaning company. So she hired me to go clean movie theaters. So I would go and do that. And then I used to sit around and watch the Jesus. They used to drop off that VHS tape of Jesus.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The Passion of Christ, but it was like before the Passion of Christ. So I used to just watch that a lot. And eventually I started playing on the Army recruiter phone. And I would call and I would hang up. And I would be like, "Damn." And I would call and I would hang up. And then eventually I was like, I'm just thinking about joining. And I'll never forget his name, Staff Sergeant for real. And he was like, "I'm for real." And that was his catchphrase. Like, I'd be like,
"I'm for real."
Like, "I'm for real." Like, you know what I'm saying? So he came and he picked me up. He took me down there. I did the practice ASVAB. He would come and get me. He would take me to go pick up other possible recruits. He was just he did a good job of befriending me and getting me on track. He was trying to help me stop smoking weed. I was like, like, I did enough, of course, in order to be able to go. So I ended up getting like a 52 or something on my ASVAB, and I needed a higher score because I had a GED. They wanted me to go to the Navy, but because I had a GED, I couldn't go or I wanted to go to Air Force, couldn't go to the Air Force because of my GED. Then they tried to get me to go to the Navy, and I was like, "Water, 6 months? No, I don't think I'll go up here on land." So that's how I ended up deciding to go to the Army. And I'll never forget the day that I went. It was like I took the ASVAB. They took me up to Columbus, Ohio, like the next day or two. And they was like, you could either leave in 2 months and get $20,000, or you can leave in 2 weeks, and you would get $2,000. And I was like, I need to go in 2 weeks. I gotta go. Like, if I don't just go right now, just go, then I'm gonna be bullshitting and I'm not gonna go. So literally, it was like one day I was there, and the next day I cut my hair all off, and I was like, I'm out. And I never really looked back. I knew that after my mother had tried to kill me, literally she was lying about the story. She made it seem like I attacked her, like, she was just, oh my God, I was just, and that was not what happened. So it made my family look at me different. And of course, because I was a fighter, they just automatically assumed that I must have been doing something because I was wild. And they just literally, I remember talking to one of my great aunts, and she was just like, well, the Bible say, honor your mother and father. And I had been reading the Bible before I had went and talked to them, because I was lost. Like, I was literally lost. And I was like, well, the Bible also says that a parent shouldn't provoke their child. Like, don't try to come at me with the Bible, because I had actually had learned something, because I was trying to figure out my life. And I'll never forget. And it was like, there was nothing that nobody wanted to do or could do to help me, because, I was just out there. And I left. I remember going to my dad's house right before I was leaving. I was like, I'm leaving in a couple days. And he was like, you know what? We never had talked, because he really wasn't around. I'm sure my mama was working on his damn nerves. And he was just like, I was in the Army. It was a good idea that you went, but you could have come and stayed here. I never even thought to ask my dad.
Never think about that.
I never, at no point of me being homeless, those couple of months, did I ever say, I'm going to go to my dad's house. I never once even thought that it was I never even considered it. And then I left. I went that day. I remember the day that I got to, the day that I spent the night in Columbus to get ready to get on a plane to go. And I swore in, and I got to Fort Jackson, and life has never been the same. It was one of the best experiences that I could have gained, because I'm already intelligent, but I didn't have any discipline. So I went knowing that I wanted discipline. I remember talking to people when I was getting ready to sign up, and they was like, well, are you sure? What if you go to war? And I was thinking, like, somebody just got killed. Our friend died. 2 street lights up. What are you talking about? What if we go to war? This is war. Like, it's a gamble either way.
I get it.
And like, that was the only thing. And I ended up going to war, but it was, that whole experience was magical, because I have dreams. Like, I didn't always know that I had dreams or understand having dreams, but I remember the first magnificent dream that I had was when I got ready to go to Iraq. So when the Iraq war first jumped off, I was at Big Red One, Kansas, and they was like, well, we got it, we're going to war. And I had just had knee surgery, so I was like, I ain't gotta go. I ain't going. I ain't going. And then they didn't send our unit. Months went past. I was like watching the war and stuff on TV every day. Like, this is real life for a military person. This is like, I need to see what's going on.
Yeah, they hit different. The news hit different.
it really does. And I went in 2000. September 11th happened when I was in Korea. That was my first duty station, and I was scared shitless, because it was like, oh my God, I am in Korea. And it just popped off. And then when the planes hit the buildings, the alerts went off, and I came downstairs like, damn, what movie y'all watching? That looks like a good movie, because it just like, I didn't know what was going on. So that was a whole experience. But when I went to the military, it was a great experience. When I had that dream about going to Iraq, it was like, one day I just had this dream. It was a vivid dream, and I seen bunk beds, and it was like I needed to be there. In the dream, I think I might have dreamed about getting into a firefight. It was all these series of things that happened, but I felt like I needed to be there after having a dream. So when it came time for us to go to Iraq, and I didn't have to go. I still didn't have to go because I had surgery, and I went to the commander's office. Like, look, I just feel like I need to be there. They're not going to go and fight this war without me being there. And literally, when we got to Iraq, it was a crazy experience. I almost got an Article 15 for absolutely nothing. And like, it was crazy. So I'll tell you about this Article 15 story. In Iraq, my cousin was in the military too. So before I left for Iraq, they gave me a party. And my cousin came and she was like, you know, I just came from over there. If they try to bomb your convoy, don't stop. Just go around because you got to lead the people around the danger. If you stop, that's when they get you. I get in Iraq, we in Kuwait, and we having this meeting about convoys. And I'm like, well, my cousin told me that if something hits one of the front vehicles, to keep going. So I don't care what y'all doing. Me and my chief is getting up out of there. They reported me and was like, literally was sending me for Article 15. And I'm telling them, like, I'm not saying nothing wrong. My cousin she was just over here. She told me this specifically. And then a couple of days later, after they, I guess, tried to go up and rank to see what I was saying, if it was accurate, and it came back that what I said was accurate, and everybody looked stupid and they felt dumb. You know, life went on.
You're now tuned in to Flavor in Your Ear. Flavor in Your Ear.
Hey, what up, world? You are now tuned in, and we are your hosts. My name is Chris.
My name is Dre. This is my pops.
And this is my son. And therefore, we are
the Generational Gap Podcast.
See, on this podcast, we talk about all kinds of topics ranging from pop culture, news, sports, hip-hop. You know, all the things we enjoy and usually talk about, but we bring them to you and discuss them from a perspective of two very different generations.
We record every week. You can follow, like, subscribe on all streaming platforms, including YouTube, and you can catch us on social media at the Generational Gap Podcast.
So what you think, they was messing with that?
I hope so.
If not, they just missing out, I guess.
Yeah, straight up.
Let's get up out of here, man.
Let's go.